Hey everybody, Matthew Perry here. I want to tell you about a gentleman that meant a lot to me over the years, and especially at my previous church, and his name is Cecil. Cecil last month passed away. He's at the age of 90 or 91. And I remembered Cecil because of what an encouragement he was to me. He was someone who had been at that church for a while. In fact, let me just tell you the story about how I came to know him. So, my previous church, I was about 31, almost 32 years old, and I was called to be the pastor of Boones Creek Baptist in Lexington, Kentucky. It's technically in Athens. If you happen to be in that area, it's off of I-75, exit 104, and it's in a rural community, but you could drive just a little bit and be back into town. But it was in a rural community, and like I said, it was founded in 1785, so what does that mean? It's like 235 years old. I ended up meeting Cecil not long after I was called there. He wasn't able to be at my call when they called me at the vote because his wife Ann was having leg issues, and so he stayed home with her. And so he and I developed a very quick friendship. He was 73 at the time. I was, again, 31, almost 32. And about a month in, he said, I'm thinking about possibly rolling off and not being a deacon anymore. And I said, Cecil, why would you do that? He said, well, I'm getting old. I'm not able to really do as much as I used to. And I said, Cecil, you can't roll off. I need your wisdom. I need your wisdom badly. And he agreed to stay on, and he was there throughout the entire time. Now, there were some ups and downs at the church, as there is with any church. But I knew I could always count on Cecil to help me sort things out. While there's some that may just immediately get upset and decide they're not going to help or to be able to kick in and just kind of come to their own conclusions about things, Cecil wasn't like that. And so Cecil, he lived maybe a 3/4 of a mile up the road off Gentry Road. And so anytime I had an issue, I said, Cecil, are you home? Can I come up and talk to you? He's like, yeah. And he always gave me a big hug when I came in. And he had one of the previous pastors said that he had a hand that was like shaking a country ham. So just a great, great, lovable guy. And Ann would always go in and bring me out a Diet Mountain Dew, and we'd go out on his back porch, and we would sit and we would talk it out. Now, I hadn't been a lead pastor for that long. I'd been in ministry for a little bit, but I hadn't been a lead pastor for that long. And again, that church had a lot of history to it. And Cecil had actually been a member of that church, I believe, since 1939. He was just a little kid when he came to when he was at that church. So he had seen all the ins and outs, ups and downs, gave me a lot of insight into a lot of the personalities were there. And it helped me so very much. If I had to make a visit with someone, he would be always willing to go with me. And so when he passed away, all of these different things started coming to my mind about him. But one of the things that came to my mind is that I want to be like Cecil. I want to be an encourager. I want to be someone who is not going to come to conclusions about motives, but he would come and talk to me. He would give me advice. And then pretty soon I got to where I sought out his advice. And he was always one whenever I left, I always felt better walking away from him than I did when I went to him. And I always felt great going to him because I knew that he loved me, that he cared about me, and he loved the church, and he cared about the church. And we just got to be where we were very, very close. I moved out to Denver at the tail end of 2011, and I went back for his wife's funeral in 2013. I wasn't able to make it back for his funeral back in January. And we probably talked maybe once or twice a year, but I always treasured those times. And even when he was laying in a hospital bed and he wasn't able to talk very much, he made time to talk to me. And I'll never forget how much of an encouragement he was to me and how that sustained me. I was at that church for 8 years. And there's no way that any pastor can stay at any church unless he has those encouragers. Because you'll always have the other ones who are not the encouragers, but are always trying to find something wrong, and that's no matter where you're at. But there, he was that encourager. And so I want to be an encourager, but I also want to find an encourager. I want to find that encourager that will challenge me, give it to me straight, but do it in a way that is building up rather than tearing down. Because it's very easy to tear down. How could you do that? How could you let that happen? How could you? What kind of a person are you? What kind of a pastor are you? Pastor so-and-so didn't do that, and we loved him. Why would you do that? No, no, no. They build you up because they love you, and they want you to be the best that you can be in the calling that God has given to you. That is such an encouragement, and that's what we need. We need to find those encouragers, not yes people. That's tempting. But find those encouragers who are there and are ready to tell you and are ready to show you the good way to go, because and they will give you, that's what that word encourager means, they will give you courage to be able to press on. One last thing. If you think about an encourager in the Bible, there's lots of them, but Barnabas comes to mind. Barnabas was one who was willing to take the Apostle Paul in when no one else would, right after he came to Christ. They didn't trust that he had been removed from his past. Barnabas brought him in. Barnabas was always the one to come alongside and to be able to help and to be able to minister. And I want to be that type of Barnabas. I want to be a guy, and I want to find people that are like that. Cecil was that for me. I miss him, but I can't wait to see him one day in heaven and to be able to sit and talk to him and thank him again. And in the meantime, praise God for putting Cecil and people like him into my life. Who is an encourager for you? Who is someone that has encouraged you along the way? Let me know about him. Thanks a lot.